Welcome everyone to another session of the Neota Network. All right, this one is on our Neota platform stream. This time we're going to hear from some more people inside Neota. So we wanted to add a healthy amount of Neota insiders to give you the skinny on what's possible to build and what you can leverage using the Neota platform. And as well, I'm sure you're sick of hearing from me, so let's get some other people's voices going. So this talk is about supercharging your business processes with Neota Workflow. So Workflow is a product that we put out about a year ago that allows you to, like its name, build some workflows, review processes, approvals, anything that involves multiple people or multiple apps strung together. So we'll be hearing from two people. So we have Moses Harding, who's on our customer success team and is a solutions architect here at Neota Logic. And we have Jack Stanovsek, who's the director of markets and growth on the East Coast here at Neota Logic. So Moses and Jack are going to dig in, show you some examples, provide you some use case, and give you some best practices for building end-to-end workflows. So over to you, Moses, over to you, Jack.
Thanks, Max, and hello to everyone. My name is Jack Stanovsek. I am a Director of Markets and Growth at Neota Logic. On the call with me today is Moses Harding, who's a Solutions Architect. Today, we're going to be taking you through Workflow, which is Neota's process automation tool, to show you a very effective, comprehensive, and bespoke digital solution for the automation of the request, drafting, approval, and execution of an NDA. So I'll hand it over to Moses, who will step through the workflow, and I will take it back from him when we're ready to step through the actual solution.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much, Jack. I'm just going to share my screen, and here we have an NDA automation solution for the for Sales Portal. It's a pretty straightforward workflow, but one that probably is useful, something that might come up. So we start at your company or your firm, and the internal business client is going to generate an NDA request. Of course, as we know, there are always multiple parties in getting these things approved. So this goes out to the junior counsel. The junior counsel is going to review it and pass it on to the senior counsel. The senior counsel will review as well, and if they approve it, we're going to move it on to the external party. And if they don't, they're going to send it back to the junior counsel to request some revisions with the note. One thing that we know is a lot of times senior counsels are very, very busy, and they may or may not be able to get to something on time. So we've added a reminder here, and you'll see that this reminder gets sent out after, I'll just pull this up here, after 2 days if the task isn't completed. And then we can, send reminders in intervals. So that way we can make sure that this doesn't fall through the cracks. But once this cycles back to the junior counsel, and we can do this as many times as we want, and the senior counsel's happy with it, they approve it and send it off to the external party. NDAs often have varying number of signatories, but we can make sure that we are accounting for that. So it's going to look at the number of signatories necessary. If it's one, then we'll just have one external signatory. If it's two, we'll have two. So we have a little gateway here. And they will sign. So the document gets sent to DocuSign. And an email gets sent out to the appropriate signatory or signatories, and the document is then retrieved. If there is only one signature, if there's only one signatory, we're all set there, and the document sent to SharePoint. If there are two, which means that our company, our firm needs to sign, then an email goes out back to us where the NDA goes to DocuSign, it's retrieved, and then it gets stored in SharePoint. And everyone gets notified that the process is complete. What we can see here is, one of the main benefits of workflow is these are all things that we could do. Well, most of this we could do before just using Studio and building Neota apps, but it was in a much more opaque, difficult to understand format. Here we've combined, as you're probably familiar with the concept of workflow, we've combined a visual representation of the process with the process itself. So what we can do is sit down and map out, we can have a conversation and map out, what does this process look like? Who are the people involved? You know, how can we organize this process? We can use something called whiteboard mode, which is where we can simply, you know, drag and drop tasks is what we call them when a particular person has to do something. And we can label this task whatever we like, and we can worry about creating the functionality beneath it later. And that's precisely what we've done here. We followed really good practices in whiteboarding the idea, so making it really clear what each task does and to whom it belongs. We can see that we've named our lanes properly, and we describe precisely what the task does. We describe who the email is going out to and what the purpose of the email is. We have also labeled our gateways. That's when we're making a decision. We've labeled our gateways really clearly so we can understand precisely, why is this moving forward? This is moving forward here because the agreement was approved. Why is it going to this particular version of the DocuSign app versus this one? It's because there's one. Why are we done here but return to the our firm here? That's because a second signature is required. So using good building practices, which is really clear labeling, makes a huge difference here. We've also used some advanced tools. I've already touched on the reminder tools before, and this is just such a simple automated way of taking care of a very old problem that we have. We can clearly see how many times that we are reminding the senior exec, and we want to make sure that we're not reminding them during difficult, inconvenient times. So you can see we have it running between 9 to 5 on business days only, and we're only reminding them 3 times, but we're still doing this in a very easy way. And aside from that, we've also, this is just a good building practice on the side. We've spaced things out really, really clearly, and we've given enough room instead of kind of, you know, jamming things together in a way that's visually unclear. We've given ourselves the space to put everything going from left to right, as you can see here, top to bottom whenever possible, in a kind of really easy to understand visual way. The way that we read a page is top to bottom, left to right. So that's how we're going to build our workflows too. We could, of course, you know, these workflows get a lot more complicated at a larger scale, but if we follow these building practices, which is clarity, both visually and clarity in terms of function and name, we can help continue to understand their function even at a larger scale.
All right, thank you very much, Moses. So without further ado, let's actually see what this NDA automation solution looks like when we run it. So we can just run it by clicking this button in the right corner here. And you'll notice what's happened is we've, as the internal business client, been taken into their specific application where they can raise the NDA request. So in the workflow, we're just at this point right here. So we'll click through this, add some nominal details, my email address that we can actually run this workflow, Jack Workflow Demo, for example, as a name, and then some nominal information about the NDA that we actually need. So we'll say it's for Neota Logic. And then in this portion, we've kept it really simple by just having 2 types of NDAs that you can request from legal. So a new vendor NDA or new employee one. Notice that we have different information that's being surfaced to the user depending on the type of NDA that we're looking for. So we can keep it you know, relatively short by seeking a new employee NDA because it'll be a unilateral NDA. We'll have an employee named Emma Employee and give her a title of director. We're given the opportunity to confirm that information is correct. If we say that it is correct, then we get some tooltip guidance saying, please click next, that our users always clued into exactly what they have to do as the next step. Now, when I click next, we've reached the end of application 1, and within the workflow, I should be at this position here where I receive an email as junior counsel that contains a link that pushes me into this next stage of the workflow where I can generate a draft NDA. So we'll jump into that one now. And we see that we have some nominal instructions. It's taken the information that we added into application 1 and put it into the email, and then there's that link for us to click to take us into the next stage. So now junior counsel comes into their own application, and when they launch it, they get some nominal instructions. Now, obviously, with your own digital solutions, the instructions can be much more comprehensive, but for demo purposes, we really just pared down the language saying a new employee NDA is needed. Within this application, there is a document automation component. So we have a template new employee NDA and some variable pieces of information that we need to provide to the system in order to generate that NDA. So the first is going to be what's the period of the employee's confidentiality. If we say it's fixed, then we have to specify the period. If we say it's ongoing, then obviously it's implied that it just continues onwards. The other aspect here we have is this a la carte clause selection that we can include in this NDA. Now, we do realize that a lot of these are stock standard for an NDA, for example, a severability clause, but we really wanted just to show the functionality of being able to pick and choose the clauses that you would like in this contract. So we'll add 3 here, and they really serve 3 different purposes. The first is a severability clause. We see that there's this pro forma text that junior counsel can edit. So for example, I can say that this is edited live for the Neota network. So these are clauses that, perhaps there's some discretion for a junior to edit. The next is a select amount of options that have been approved by senior counsel. So a good example of this is the governing jurisdiction clause. We can say that since both Moses and I are based in New York, that it will be New York. And the third is a take it or leave it type basis clause. So we see that with the breach of agreement clause, it's something that senior counsel's worked on very hard. So they don't want junior counsel messing anything up. So they can choose to include it. If they do, they just cannot edit that text. So now the system is going to generate a bespoke NDA for our junior counsel and give them the opportunity to review it. So a couple of things that we'll see. First, we see that the information that we entered into application 1 has been added into this document. The second is that these a la carte clauses that we included, for example, the severability clause has been included, the governing laws, the state of New York, and then we have that breach of agreement clause that's been added as a take it or leave it type basis. So junior counsel is instructed to review it when it's ready for signature, and they click next. Then within this workflow, we're now at the stage where an email is being sent to senior counsel for them to come into their own application to review the NDA. We see that email here, and we'll click on the link to be taken into the senior counsel's review application. This one is relatively shorter than the other applications in this workflow because senior counsel has a very discrete role of reviewing and approving the document that's been generated by junior. So they have a couple of options that they can do at this point. They can actually edit this document directly. If I click yes, you'll see that our open negotiation document editor is presented to senior counsel where they can just edit this document directly within the editing pane. So for example, if I wanted to delete the footer there, then I can do that. Something very simple that perhaps you don't have to send back to junior counsel in order to get the document out to your signatories. Now, if there are some more outstanding issues that senior counsel wants junior counsel to revise, they can provide some revision instructions in this box. An email will be sent to junior and they can again generate it and send it off for approval. In the interest of time, we can make it a relatively short path by just approving this NDA and seeing what the signing procedure looks like. So what will occur is the external party will receive an email with a link to a Neota application that will go into our DocuSign building block, which will take the user to the document with signatory anchor signs already applied. And when they finish that, they'll be taken back into the Neota workflow. So now I, as an employee, am being taken into DocuSign. And the exact document that was generated by the system is presented for the end user to sign. They affix their signature here, and when they click finish, they're taken back into the Neota Workflow, where this document is also pushed into our SharePoint building block, which saves the document to a specific folder within SharePoint. So here's our signed document. And if we go to SharePoint, and sort by newly added, we see that that document has just been posted into our SharePoint folder. So the benefits of Workflow: highly bespoke, customized solutions that are very easy to prototype rapidly and get off the ground so that you can prove to your stakeholders value. You know, all these components and functionality can be used in a litany of different use cases. The opportunities are really endless with Workflow. So thank you everyone for attending, and I hope that you found some value out of this demo and presentation.
All righty, thank you so much, Moses. Thank you so much, Jack. Fantastic stuff, fantastic stuff. You know, these are the types of hands-on examples that we want to continue to show, and as well provide to you so that you get more insight on which direction you could take the platform on. In addition to that, you know, workflows have really opened up a whole bunch of different types of use cases and solutions that can be built in the platform. And to tell you the truth, people are getting more and more creative all the time. So thanks again, Moses. Thanks again, Jack, for walking us through that. And thank you to everyone joining us. Lots of other great talks, including other building sessions, including other use case demos from customers, from Neota staff, everyone in between. But thank you very much for joining another session, and we'll see you at another one of the Neota Networks.